Hello there. Today I'm going to be discussing higher education differentiated learning environments. To introduce myself, my name is Melissa Klein. I am a graduate student in pursuit of my master's in education at Post University. I am currently a full-time ultrasound technologist with no teaching experience other than as a teaching assistant while obtaining my undergraduate in diagnostic medical sonography. My hope is to create and found the first Bachelor's of Science ultrasound program in the state of Montana. I believe I'm a novice instructor because I have only experienced the program I plan to create from a student's perspective. I have not actually taught in an educational context, but I am very much looking forward to doing so. While taking Post University's EDU 605, Differentiated Instruction and Learning, I have become convinced that differentiated instruction is absolutely necessary for student success within any educational context. To begin with, I think it's most necessary to define what exactly differentiated instruction is. Differentiated instruction is a way of teaching with the student continually in mind. Teachers are constantly assessing their students' content, process, and product to evaluate the goals of the instruction in relation to what the student is learning. Students have many avenues for obtaining information, making sense of what they have learned, and expressing their new knowledge. Teachers are proactively planning and collaborating with students to reach learning goals. A differentiated classroom offers students multiple options for acquiring content, processing new concepts, and creating products to demonstrate their understanding. Within a differentiated classroom, student commonalities are built upon, and student differences become key elements in the instructional methods and curriculum. While learning about differentiated instruction, I found myself asking, how can I create a differentiated instructional environment in my future educational context? When given the opportunity to do a self-selected project, I immediately thought this would be a great time to investigate further what a differentiated learning environment looks like and how to create that for my class. To begin with, I started at Carol Tomlinson's How to Differentiate Instruction in Mixed Ability Classrooms, which I reference quite frequently in this presentation. I began at her chapter that highlighted what differentiated instructional learning environments should look like. From there, I branched out to different aspects of the characteristics that she mentioned of a differentiated classroom. By digging deeper into the components of differentiated learning environments, I hope to more easily implement differentiated instructional practices in my future educational environment. The following slides are my findings and the primary components to a differentiated learning environment. Walden University described a differentiated instruction environment to building a triangle out of cards. In order for the structure to work, all three sides must support one another. The three sides of the triangle are the teacher, the student, and the classroom content. They must all work together to produce a functioning, differentiated classroom environment. A differentiated classroom should be similar to a friendly, high-functioning neighborhood. Each differentiated classroom will look different depending on the teacher, the students, and the classroom content. For example, this pertains to a teacher who is teaching the same class and course material year after year. A differentiated classroom environment will change because each class has new students who bring their uniqueness each year. Differentiated instruction classrooms are never boring or monotonous because each class brings new students who have varied educational backgrounds, personal experiences, and exciting new challenges for the instructor to try and relate to. Within a differentiated instruction classroom, The teacher is the leader of the environment and sets the tone. The teacher should support an evolving community of learners and lead students to developing the sorts of attitudes, beliefs, and practices that would characterize a really good neighborhood. They see students as individuals and work continuously to better understand them. Teachers know the curriculum content better, but they are constantly studying their students to better reach them. Dr. Carol Tomlinson described how teachers should take notes on students' interests and needs when beginning a new class. Tomlinson described teachers who practice differentiated instruction like coaches. They have clear goals for the team and formulate skill-building activities for the team, but also consider each individual on the team and what motivates them. Differentiated instruction educators are very active in all processes of the team. They motivate, they give directions, they're mentors, and they set aside time for strategy adjustments for the team and for each player. Differentiated instruction teachers plan ahead and are proactive. They are constantly planning new ways to get at learning opportunities in order to reach different students' needs. Dr. Tomlinson said it best. In a differentiated classroom, the teacher proactively plans and carries out varied approaches to content, process, and product in anticipation of and response to student differences in readiness, interest, and learning needs. Teachers and students within a differentiated instruction classroom have ongoing collaboration to continuously refine the learning process so it's working for each student. In order to make learning meaningful, educators must make connections to the students' prior interests, understandings, beliefs, and how they learn best. Learning takes place most effectively in classrooms where students are active in the learning process, assessments are varied and at the center of instruction, and knowledge is clearly organized. Students are active learners, decision makers, and problem solvers. A key component of differentiated instruction is for the teacher to give students as much responsibility as they're able to handle while continuing to teach them how to handle more. Students within a differentiated classroom are required to take responsibility for their own growth as a learner. And students become the drivers in their education. And the teachers share teaching with students. Teachers are not the keepers of knowledge, but the organizers of learning opportunities. A primary aspect of differentiated instruction is student self-directed learning. Student self-directed learning is directly related to students establishing lifelong learning skills. Differentiated classrooms have clear, established, substantial goals. Goals are developed by deliberating what the learning objectives are for the class. Differentiated instruction teachers focus on what skills, principles, and concepts the students should be able to do. Differentiated instructional educators should make what is expected of students very clear to them and be upfront about the expectations. Instructors should be constantly evaluating and gauging where students are at in relation to the standard. Considering the goals, differentiated instruction teachers adjust their instructional practices based on where the student is at. Task assignments and objectives should be aligned with the established learning goals. Scaffolding instruction is an aspect of goal-oriented differentiated instruction. Scaffolding is when teachers break up learning goals into chunks and provide structured support for students to meet the learning milestones and increase concept understanding. Flexible grouping is essential to a differentiated instruction classroom, and students are expected to work together and interact as they learn new content. Differentiated instruction educators use a variety of grouping strategies. For example, a teacher may lead a whole class discussion on a big idea about a topic and then divide students into small groups or pairs for further work. Groupings within a differentiated classroom are not fixed and depend on the content, student strengths or areas needing improvement, and the type of project. Assessing a student's readiness to learn is a key component to successful differentiated instruction. Students learn better when tasks closely match their skills and understanding of a topic. Ongoing assessments are a roadmap for planning instruction. Incorporating pre- and ongoing assessments better informs the instructor so that he or she can provide thoughtful instructional approaches and create scaffolds to support the varied needs of students. Assessments within a differentiated instructional environment come in all different sizes. They can be formal and informal, include surveys, interviews, and questionnaires. Student self-evaluation is another important aspect to assessment. Especially within my future educational environment, adult learners must be able to assess their progress, self-critique, and adjust as necessary to make improvements. In conclusion, in order to foster a differentiated classroom environment, teachers must lead the way. Teachers set the tone for differentiated instruction. They study students, they motivate them, and they are proactive in planning instruction to fit students' individual needs. Teachers and students collaborate. Teachers and students within a differentiated instruction classroom have ongoing collaboration to continuously refine the learning process so it's working for each student. Instruction is based on established goals. Goals are developed by deliberating what the learning objectives are. Differentiated instruction teachers focus on what skills, principles, and concepts the students should be able to do. Groups are very flexible. Groupings within a differentiated classroom are not fixed, and they depend on the content, student strengths or areas needing improvement, and the type of project. Students are expected to work together and interact as they learn new content. Ongoing assessments are a roadmap for planning instruction. Incorporating pre- and ongoing assessments better informs the instructor so that he or she can improve thoughtful instructional approaches and create scaffolds to support the varied needs of students. Student self-evaluation is also an important component to assessment as well. In order to make learning meaningful, educators must make connections to the students' prior interests, understandings, beliefs, and how they learn best. That is why differentiated instruction is an essential element to student success because it connects learning to students personally. In researching differentiated instructional environments, I have learned so much. If I could start this project over again, I would definitely narrow my search. Initially, I ended up with a never-ending rabbit trail and was overloaded by material. I spent quite a bit of time sorting through the fundamental aspects of differentiated instructional environments to come up with the main progress or product of my presentation. While researching, I discovered new, important elements of differentiated learning environments and found essential tools to use as I apply them to my personal educational environment. I'm very excited to structure my curriculum design with a differentiated instructional environment in mind and eager to start practicing differentiated instruction. And here are my references. Thanks for watching.